But the district attorney says they did, hopelessly compromising the evidence. Because the police were not involved in the early online chats, they had to rely on perverted justice, not their own detectives, to know what really happened, and to know if the perverted justice decoys might have gone too far to lure in the targets.
I got those other pictures, and let me tell you.
You don't have the full transcripts?
Well, I don't know. That's exactly part of my problem. The police department can't tell me whether or not I have the full transcripts.
Did your arresting officers, did they see the chats before they made the arrest?
In some cases, yes.
Did they see the entire chats?
No.
Making it impossible, says District Attorney Roach, a judge for 20 years before his current job, to mount a successful prosecution.
How you doing, Stanley?
My back hurts.
That's why, months after millions of Dateline viewers watched the arrest of the 23 suspects in Murphy, the district attorney dismissed criminal charges against all of them.
Just because we hate what these guys do doesn't mean I get to break the rules. The rules are, if the evidence can't get this fellow convicted, then I can't bring a case against him.
On its website, Perverted Justice calls District Attorney Roach and his office inept and incompetent for failing to go after the accused sexual predators. Roach says he's not happy about it either.
People who prey on children are people we would like to put in our penitentiary. That's one of the reasons why this kind of an operation is a bad thing, because it can allow those kinds of people to escape for no other reason but for the fact that the cases can't be proved against them.
But that's far from the only problem that came up during the Dateline sting.
When 2020 returns, the Predator pursuit is about to take a deadly turn. With cameras rolling, a SWAT team targets the home of a prominent man.
And I'm ashamed to have been a part of it.
Next, 2020 on ABC. 2020 continues with Brian Ross.
Some 20 men showed up and were arrested as alleged sexual predators at a sting house set up by NBC Dateline in Murphy, Texas. But one man, one very prominent man, Dateline thought it had caught, did not show up. 56-year-old William Conrad, an assistant district attorney in a neighboring county.
He was a prosecutor. I mean, how juicy of a story is that?
The Dateline report makes it clear they knew they had caught someone very special.
This is the first time we've come across an assistant district attorney.
Assistant district attorney for Kaufman.
Dateline tracked Conrad's allegedly lewd behavior for several weeks.
Whatever you'd like to do.
He's been chatting on the phone with an actor hired by Dateline and online with a decoy from Perverted Justice. And there's little doubt about what's on his mind.
He sent penis pictures.
Frag from Perverted Justice alerts police.
He got pretty sexual on the phone and it's recorded. We're chatting with him right now.
But by the final day of taping at the Sting House, Conrad had still failed to show up.
Hello?
Hey, is this Will?
Yeah.
Hey, Will, this is Luke. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
And Dateline had one of its actors, using the name Luke, call Conrad 3 different times to get him to walk into the trap.
Did you leave yet?
No.
You didn't leave yet?
No.
Are you going to come or not?
Yes, I shall.
Conrad pretended to be 19 years old, talking to an actor who was pretending to be 13 years old.
Well, when are you going to come over?
Well, a little later.
But Conrad did not take the bait, and the decision was made to go get him at his home in the nearby town of Terrell. The first time Dateline, in its 11 Catch a Predator episodes, had gone to a suspect's home. It was a decision that would lead to Bill Conrad's death and raise questions about why the rush to arrest him on a Sunday afternoon.
They could have arrested him in his office the next day or on his way to work the next day. I mean, they know who he is.
Former Murphy police officer Sam Love says the decision was made at the suggestion of NBC's Chris Hansen, a suggestion, he says, that was relayed to the command center from someone at the Sting House.
Their hope was that the man would come out to go to the store for something, or the church or whatever, and Chris Hansen and his crew could confront him and interview him before the arrest is made. And then they would say, all right, go ahead and arrest him and execute the search warrant on the house.
NBC's own footage and unaired outtakes turned over to Texas authorities and provided to 2020 show Hansen and the NBC crew with the police as they were preparing for the arrest, starting with the police staging area at a nearby gas station. The police chief, as well as NBC, have since denied that Chris Hansen was involved in the decision to make the arrest.
Whoever is putting that information out is telling you or telling other sources an outright lie. That is not the way it was done. Chris Hansen never had direct control of anything in this aspect other than what his crews did out there. That was it.
Despite the outtakes, Chief Myrick even denied that NBC was close by.
Most of the time that we were down there, Chris Hansen was down the street from us standing by a car.
But Dateline's cameraman, producer, and Hansen can all be seen on the footage in front of the suspect's house with the police. And outtakes also show police apparently relying on Dateline's surveillance of the house and the suspect, asking Hansen, who is off camera, if the suspect is still inside.
But nobody's left the residence?
No.
Okay.
Police first knock at the door with cameras recording it all, but there is no answer. Then the outtakes show Hansen and Perverted Justice Operations Director, Frag, suggesting police call Conrad inside his home.
You know, I guess we called him this morning on a fake call. We got the number. Somebody else call in there, try and talk him out. See the answer? I do. You got it wrong on the thing still?
972-524-2849.
And how'd you get his phone number?
Probably from the local department.
You didn't get his phone number from Chris Hansen?
Well, I didn't get his phone number from Chris Hansen.
But look again at NBC's outtakes.
972-524.
Finally, a SWAT team from the Terrell Police Department is sent in to break down the door of Conrad's house. The police later claiming they were concerned he might destroy evidence on his computer.
Then we hear a faint crack as the officers force their way in.
They either came this way or they came through the
Conrad's
kitchen.
sister Patricia showed 2020 where police broke in and then headed down a hallway to the bedroom where her brother was waiting for police with a gun in his hand.
They come in, they see him, he says, "Guys, I'm not going to hurt anybody." And then he put the gun to his head and shot.
Police called in a helicopter for the critically injured suspect, but William Conrad died shortly after the helicopter landed at a Dallas hospital.
I understand that he took his own life, but I have a feeling that he took his own life when he looked out the door and saw there were a bunch of television cameras outside.
The two former Murphy detectives say many in their department shrugged off Conrad's death.
It didn't matter that that person died because he was just, in their opinion, a child molester or a pervert, if you will. I mean, it was pushed aside and shoved under the rug, and I'm ashamed to have been a part of it. I'm truly ashamed to have been a part of that.
Conrad's sister is now suing NBC, claiming the network's actions led to her brother's death.
Why sue them? Why not sue the police departments? They make the ultimate decision. Reporters can ask for a lot of things, but it's up to the police to say yes or no.
Well, but when you look at the outtakes, I think you look at who is in charge. It did not seem to be the law enforcement people. And my whole point in pursuing this is that these type of vigilante, out of control, reality, and it's not even reality. Yeah, it is perverted justice. It wasn't justice.
We want to update you tonight with...
No one from NBC News would agree to appear on our program, but in an update broadcast by Dateline just a few days ago, reporter Chris Hansen strongly defended Dateline's actions and said there was new evidence that offered a different explanation of Conrad's suicide.
Something like possession of child pornography.
And Hansen showed a Texas police report claiming the dead man had child pornography on his computer. The district attorney says none of that changes his position, that the case was handled badly.
If you want to entertain, that's okay. But you got to get the police work done first. That's what's important. The idea is to catch these guys and convict them under lawful, legal, admissible evidence. And it's the police department's responsibility to bring us that evidence. They're the investigative agency.
So they really dropped the ball here.
Yes, they did.
By going into business, essentially, with NBC and Perverted Justice.
That's exactly right. By giving up their role as professional law enforcement officers for a few minutes of TV time.
We'll be right back.